Facebook, remember them when they wanted to do a crypto thing called Libra and then they changed that thing to Diem? Well, guess what? Facebook is back. They're in the stablecoin business all of a sudden, but they're not in the stablecoin business with the Diem stablecoin. They're actually in the stablecoin business with USDP, which is the recently rebranded Paxos standard stablecoin. They're rolling out a pilot project in Guatemala and US, and it's going to go through Novi, which is their wallet subsidiary, formerly known as Calibra, back before the big name change. But this was sort of dropped on the world this morning at the height of Bitcoin futures ETF hysteria, and is also some interesting news to see out of Facebook that they're still charging ahead for this DM project, even despite all of the regulatory pushback. So I'm going to toss this to you, Will. I was actually quite shook by this one. Crazy that they've been building in the background and are launching in some capacity fairly soon. What's your take on this whole Novi development?
Shooketh as well. It's interesting to me to say that the only thing that came out of this whole Facebook drama was their wallet and not the stablecoin, not any other subsidiary products around the token, around the stablecoin, but it's their wallet that got through. And that makes sense because the wallet is just very simple code, just holding cryptocurrency. It's interesting to just kind of step back and look at the picture and say Facebook wasn't able to launch its own stablecoin, but now they have to use a smaller firm that I guess was able to kind of skirt under the radar and put out their own stablecoin as well. Because if Facebook wasn't able to put out a stablecoin and they're still having problems with that, that makes me question about USDC and USDT and all these other stablecoins that are already out there on the market. And what does that look like for them in the next few years? Taking a step away from that conversation, though, Facebook's ability to keep moving is notable. I think they really hit a ton of traps over the last few years. I remember Mark Zuckerberg going before Congress and him just getting grilled along with a few of the Libra folk before they transitioned to Diem. And they've kept going. So props to them for being able to put out a product that could have some legs. I think a stablecoin product like this really would be interesting. Notable for US consumers because there's Apple Pay and Google Pay integrations here, which would mean that it would be in the phones of most Americans who use their mobile wallets for payments, just like I do every day. So it depends if people are going to purchase those stable coins and then choose to use them. That's still a significant gap you have to front. But the fact that it's already into Apple Pay and Google Pay that's pretty big. That's a leap that a lot of stable coins and cryptocurrencies have not been able to make yet. Naomi, I'll throw this up to you though.
Yeah, it bothers me tremendously that the government is able to put the reins on what Facebook is doing and everyone else is still kind of doing what they want, right? It's the government picking winners and losers here. I mean, I'm not the biggest Facebook fan, but I also don't like the government coming in and choosing which people are allowed to, create products and which aren't. And the fact is that Facebook is under the thumb of the government so much right now. There are, antitrust lawsuits out there. There are so many ways that the government could really just hurt the Facebook business, so they have to toe the line. So when they came out and announced, hey, we're going to be doing this stablecoin thing, which was kind of interesting, this basket of assets, it wasn't a stablecoin at the time. It was this very interesting product, and it was a real financial innovation. The idea was that it would be this federated system. It would have all these different organizations as part of it. It would have all kinds of assets in this basket, which I thought was a very interesting financial product personally, and quite different to having something just pegged to the US dollar, whose fate I'm not particularly confident in. So I was very interested in having something that had a mix of different assets. And then the government was just like, no, Facebook, we control you. You will not move forward. So now it seems that they're just partnering with other organizations that, weren't under the thumb of government so much, or under the same scrutiny, or in the midst of antitrust lawsuits and all of this. So they've partnered with them and are doing a lesser product. But it's just, I hate to see interesting innovation get squashed through these politicians who didn't really understand what they were talking about. If you listen to the hearings that went on in 2019, it was such a joke. And it was just all these politicians talking about how, well, Facebook, you're not good with storing people's data. And, there's all this surveillance. And it's like, what? Pot calling kettle black here. It was this crazy situation with the government saying how much they like privacy for the citizens of the United States. It was you guys don't. I don't know what this is about, but it's definitely not about privacy and respecting the rights of your citizens. So this whole situation has me a little bit angry, but I'm glad that they're moving forward in some capacity. But Zach, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, just the vision from Libra from the get-go was to make sending money as easy as sending a text message. And the fact that this is like slowly inching toward reality, 2+ years later after the initial announcement, is really interesting. But if you look at the website that this was announced on today, you'll see it's no fees, sending money across borders. Some of that vision stuff that was there with the Libra rollout exists in this form, but again with USDP. Paxos is a highly regulated stablecoin rather than a more novel product, Naomi, that you were alluding to. The original Libra stablecoin was actually quite novel in terms of its tokenomics and was quite interesting, but was beaten back pretty severely by regulators the world over. Jen, I'm going to toss this to you. I saw your hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to note that Facebook is really good at user experience, and they have a massive audience, right? 2.9 billion people know and use and trust Facebook. So I'm really interested to see what this user experience is going to be like and how they educate and market and advertise this wallet, and if they are going to be that really big, mainstream push to their 2 some odd billion users. But Naomi, I'll kick it back to you before we go to break.
Yeah, I would mention that people are probably misguided to trust Facebook. They do just get a tremendous amount of data on people and sell it. And it's just not good for your OPSEC, not good for your digital security. So I'm not sure whether I would encourage people to use something where we know so much data is just being taken about their financial transactions, et cetera. I'm always on the bandwagon of let's make privacy normalized in payments. And so I would encourage people, if you're going to use a messaging app, go and use Signal, go and use Mobile Coin. I just think that it's a much better product than the Facebook one is going to be. But that being said, let's just take this power out of government's hands and then quibble about which other option we're going to go to. But I do, sorry, I know we have to go to teas, but I do just want to say, well, last thing, when we say that, we're taking this out of the hands of government, Facebook really does have this very insidious, incestuous relationship with government in terms of, PRISM program and them just getting access to Facebook servers and all of this stuff. So, you're not really getting that financial privacy by going with something like Facebook. That's what I'll say.